My brother stole Dad's house until the judge heard the recording. She manipulated him, my brother said, loud enough for the whole courtroom to hear. Dad was sick. She took advantage. The judge looked up from her glasses. Every head turned toward me. I sat still. I had a folder in my lap 2 inches thick, and I had been waiting for this moment for over a year. My name is Rachel Calloway. I am 38 years old. I am a registered nurse in a small town in Tennessee. I work long shifts, drive a used Honda, and raise my 10-year-old daughter, Lily, mostly on my own. My brother Derek owns a landscaping company, drives a new truck every 2 years, and has always known how to make an entrance. Growing up, he was loud and charming. I was the one clearing the table after Sunday dinner while he told jokes in the living room. When our mom passed 8 years ago, it was me who handled the hospice calls and the paperwork. Nobody really noticed. That was fine. I was used to it. Dad's name was James Calloway. He was a retired electrician who kept a workshop in the garage and grew tomatoes every summer. His house was a pale yellow 3-bedroom on Birchwood Lane. Nothing fancy, but it smelled like sawdust and coffee, and every good memory I had. When Dad was diagnosed with early-stage Parkinson's, I started driving over twice a week. When it got worse, I came every day. I coordinated with his neurologist, organized his medications, and sat with him through the hard nights. I was not doing it for anything in return. I was doing it because he was my dad, and I loved him. If you have ever been the steady one, the one who shows up quietly without expecting credit, this story is for you. Subscribe if that is you. Drop a comment if you know what it feels like to be overlooked. And tap hype if you believe doing the right thing still matters. Let us go. Dad passed on a Tuesday morning in February. The hospice nurse called me first. I sat in his kitchen for a long time before I could drive home. At the memorial reception, the smell of casseroles and flower arrangements mixed with the sound of old country music playing low in the corner. I was talking to one of Dad's old co-workers when I heard Derek's voice cut across the room. The house stays in my name. That is already handled. I walked over and said quietly, Derek, nothing has been decided yet. He smiled at the people around us. Relax, Rachel. I have been talking to Dad about this for years. A few relatives nodded, like it made sense. I felt my stomach drop. 3 weeks later, a process server knocked on my apartment door. Derek had filed a legal claim saying Dad verbally promised him the house and that I had pressured Dad during his illness to change his wishes. In court, his lawyer called me calculated. He said I had positioned myself as caregiver to gain financial access. I felt heat rise to my face. Then Derek leaned forward and said, she moved back home because she could not make her bills. Someone near the back of the room made a sound that was not quite a laugh, but was close enough. My attorney touched my arm. Do not react, she said softly. The judge set a date for the next hearing and noted that a formal will had been filed with the court. Derek's jaw tightened slightly. I exhaled for the first time all morning. Before the next court date, Derek had the locks changed. I drove to Birchwood Lane one Saturday to pick up Lily's old artwork that Dad had framed and hung in the hallway. I also wanted Dad's toolbox. Derek cracked the door and looked at me. You are not coming in here. I said, I just want a few personal things. He said, you already took enough, and shut the door. I sat in my car for 10 minutes before I drove away. That weekend at a family cookout, Derek told our cousins I was dragging the estate through court to squeeze money out of the situation. My aunt pulled me aside and said, honey, is this really worth the fight? I smiled and said, it is what Dad wanted. She looked uncertain. The following week, Derek asked to meet me at a coffee shop near the highway. He stirred his cup twice and pushed a folded paper across the table. $8,000. Sign this, walk away, and we are done. I looked at the paper and then looked at him. This is not about money, I said. He said, think about Lily. I said, I am. He left before I finished my coffee. After that, I got to work. I had already been quietly organizing everything for months, but now I spread it all across my kitchen table and built a case document by document. What they did not know was that I had saved everything from the very beginning. I had a folder of text messages where Derek wrote things like, busy this weekend, tell Dad I will come next month, and cannot do the appointment, just reschedule it. I had voicemails from Dad asking me, "Did your brother say if he is coming Thursday?" I had a spreadsheet logging every visit I made, with dates and times, going back 2 years. I had receipts for groceries, medications, home repair supplies, and 3 separate plumbing calls I paid for out of pocket. I had printed records from Dad's neurologist showing I was listed as primary caregiver and medical decision maker. I had signed consent forms with my name on them. I had prescription pickup logs from the pharmacy. And I had one more thing. 6 weeks before Dad passed, he asked me to sit with him in the workshop. He could barely stand by then, but he wanted to be in that room one more time. He talked about Mom. He talked about the house. He said, "Rachel, I need you to have this place. You are the one who kept everything together." His voice was unsteady, but his words were clear. I had my phone in my jacket pocket, and I was recording. I did not plan it weeks in advance. Something told me to press record, and I did. I stored that audio file in 3 places and transcribed every word. I highlighted the key lines. I printed 2 copies. I did not tell anyone. I stayed calm. I let Derek talk. 4 days before the final hearing, I got a call from a woman named Patricia Morse. She was the attorney who had drafted Dad's will. Her voice was careful and measured. "Miss Calloway, I want you to know that I am prepared to testify. Your father was extremely specific about his wishes." She told me Derek had contacted her office several months before Dad passed, asking about the process for transferring the deed. She said she had declined to assist him and had immediately called my father to inform him. Dad had responded by asking her to finalize the will as soon as possible, with 2 witnesses present at signing. I wrote down everything she told me and added it to the folder. Meanwhile, Derek was getting more confident. He told relatives it was basically resolved. He posted a photo on social media, standing in front of the house with the caption, "Taking care of what matters." People I barely knew were congratulating him in comment sections. My cousin texted me, "Are you okay? It looks like Derek already has the house." I texted back, "The hearing is Friday," she replied with a question mark. The night before court, I made Lily dinner, helped her with homework, and tucked her in. Then I sat at the kitchen table and went through the folder one last time. I did not need to. I had already memorized every page. I just needed to sit with it. In the morning, I put on a gray blazer, dropped Lily at school, and drove to the courthouse. The courtroom was standing room only. Word had spread through the family, and half of them had shown up expecting to watch Derek win. He sat at the plaintiff's table in a pressed blue shirt, looking relaxed. His attorney was shuffling papers with the confidence of someone who thought this was already done. The clerk began reading the will. The first section covered bank accounts and a small savings bond to be divided equally. Derek nodded slightly. His attorney smiled. Then the clerk turned to the property section. The residence at 412 Birchwood Lane, including all contents and land, is to be transferred in full to my daughter, Rachel Ann Calloway. The room cracked open with sound. Derek was on his feet immediately. That is not his real intention. She coached him. She was alone with him constantly. His voice was shaking. Unquote. Patricia Morse stood. "Your Honor, I was present at the signing, along with 2 independent witnesses. The document is valid and fully executed." She handed the judge a certified copy. My attorney then requested permission to submit additional evidence. The judge nodded. She submitted the caregiver documentation, the medical records, the receipt file, and the message logs. ILM. Then she said, "Your Honor, we also have an audio recording made 6 weeks before Mr. Calloway's passing." The judge approved it. Dad's voice came through the courtroom speakers, quiet, slow, completely clear. "Rachel is the one who never left. She gets the house. That is my decision, and it has been my decision for a long time." Nobody moved. Derek's attorney set his pen down on the table. The judge looked at Derek for a long moment and then said, "Unsupported claims of manipulation without evidence waste this court's time and cause unnecessary harm. I am ruling in favor of the respondent." She set the papers down. "Miss Calloway, the property is yours." I I stood and looked at my brother. I never wanted this to go this far, I said. I just wanted Dad's wishes to mean something. He did not answer. He would not look at me. I stood and looked at my brother. I never wanted this to go this far, I said. I just wanted Dad's wishes to mean something. He did not answer. He would not look at me. I received the keys that afternoon from the county clerk's office. I drove straight to Birchwood Lane. I sat in the driveway for a few minutes before I went in. The house smelled like dust and the faint trace of the coffee Dad always kept on the burner too long. I walked through every room slowly. His tools were still hanging in the workshop exactly where he left them. His tomato plants in the backyard had gone wild without anyone tending them. I changed the locks that evening. I left his garden alone. A few relatives called me in the following days. Their voices were smaller than usual. They said things like, "I did not know the whole picture, and I should have asked more questions." I told them it was okay. I meant it. Derek did not call. 3 weeks later, Lily and I moved in. On our first night, we ate grilled cheese sandwiches at the kitchen table where Dad once helped me with multiplication tables in 4th grade. The window above the sink had the same crack in the corner it always had. Lily said, "I like it here, Mom." I told her I did too. Being the quiet one does not mean you are losing. It means you are building something no one else can see yet. I did not win anything that day in court. I protected something. And in that house on Birchwood Lane, with the sawdust smell still faint in the walls, I finally felt like I could breathe. If your family ever pushed you to the side when there was something to gain, you know exactly how deep that goes. Leave your story in the comments. Tell me how you handled it. Subscribe if you believe quiet strength is still real. Tap hype to help this story reach someone who needs to hear it. Did this one hit close to home? Like the video and share your thoughts below. Your support helps more than you know.